business is a matter of relationships.
Yes. Well, Gary, thanks for being with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of From the Top. We are live here at Villanova University to interview a really special guest. Gary Greco is the Chief Development Officer at Sientia Consulting LLC, a Villanova alum, as am I. And so that's why we're here at Villanova. We're going to talk about Villanova today. Gary and I met when I gave my TEDx Villanova speech back in March. And so, Gary, thank you for being with us today.
Mike, it's a distinct pleasure, and I want to say up front, thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank Isabella for being part of this two very special people who I met at TEDx.
Yeah, absolutely. And Isabella is helping us filming and with the audio today, also a Villanova alum. So we're all Villanova here. So let's just jump in. Gary, can you just give a quick introduction to yourself and what you do at your company?
Yeah, so I am Chief Development Officer of a newly formed company called Sientia Consulting LLC. I'm part owner of the company, but really the genesis of this company was started by Cynthia Phillips, my dear and esteemed partner and BFF. She has been working on this for over a year.
Oh, wow.
And her credentials are quite impressive in the field of technology.
Great.
And although at the end of the day, AI will play a part in this, really what we're about is business transformation, optimization, and Cynthia, in her infinite wisdom, developed an impact playbook, which is
great.
The model for the industry. It's the first of its kind.
Fantastic.
So we're very...
That's great. Well, we will have to have her on the show.
Absolutely.
Absolutely have her on the show, and we'll dive deeper into that. I'd like to start off our discussion today about Villanova, since we are here. We're here in the Villanova Cinema. We're in the Connolly Center on Villanova's campus, where I worked when I was a student as a facilities aide. So I've set up the rooms. It's like being back home for me. But tell us a little bit about your time at Villanova and how that's shaped your career.
Well, I was introduced to Villanova by my dear father, who passed away several years ago, Villanova basketball.
Yeah.
And we used to watch Herb Meltzer on the on WPHL Channel 17 and 5 games.
Yeah.
And then eventually my father started bringing me down to the games.
So like at what age would that
I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So I became part of the Big Five fabric in the hallowed halls of the Palestro, which is known as the Cathedral of College Basketball.
Yeah.
Unbelievable rivalry series, the only of its kind in the country.
Yes,
where 5 schools compete in a city series tournament. Several of the schools are Roman Catholic.
Yep.
Villanova, LaSalle, St. Joe's, and then there's Temple, and then, of course, the Penn Quakers.
Right. So at 8 years old, you were going to the basketball games with your dad?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
wow.
We would be going, and they would actually have triple headers, so we would go to the triple headers. And then, of course, as my brothers came along, they got involved in watching Villanova basketball, and really, we go back to Jack Kraft, who was the first coach.
Right. And so your family has a long history with the school.
We have a real long history with Villanova.
Yeah. That's great.
At some point then we really got involved.
Yeah. And have a lot of your family attended the school as well?
Actually, it's funny. I'm the only graduate of Villanova.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the only graduate. My dad, and my mother, who I should talk at some point at your prompting. My dad didn't have a college degree. My dad had a GED.
Yeah.
And then he went into the Navy.
Oh,
But
wow.
now I'm the only one from the Greco family. And then, of course, my brother Timmy's son, Joshua, was a recent graduate of Villanova.
Great. So when it came time for you to pick your college, was it like a no-brainer, or how did that go for you?
I actually started out at Philadelphia Textile.
Okay.
In Philadelphia Textile School of Science, and in Roxborough. I played basketball there for a year under Herbie McGee, who was is Hall of Fame coach, national champion in 1969. And I played there for a year, and then I ended up dropping out, and then I ended up working in the family healthcare business that was started by my mother and father.
Okay.
So then I actually didn't get back to college at a serious level until I entered Villanova in 1985.
Oh, wow. The year of the first championship.
The year of the first championship.
Wow. And that was your first year here.
That was
Incredible.
my first year.
What was that like?
Well, I remember my brothers and my father and I watched it in the rec room of our house. And then afterwards, my two brothers, Joe and Tim, went over to Route 30 and celebrated. So that was like pandemonium.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I didn't go.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, that was. So that was during the they didn't have a shot clock.
Right.
Which was pivotal in Villanova's win.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. So that's your sort of first exposure to the school, the national championship.
Yeah.
And then finishing school, talk about how you feel Villanova has impacted your career and where you went from there after graduating.
Villanova, first off, under the direction of Father Peter, Villanova has risen to incredible heights.
Yeah.
We all know it's Wall Street Journal recently named it the 62nd best university in the country, which is quite significant.
Definitely. Very.
I had incredible professors at Villanova. And for me, as it goes, Mike, time in life is everything. Mm. So when I was in the family business, and then I could take that family business experience and share it in the classroom.
Right.
So I was more of a practical and academia combined, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just wanted to mention, if I may, some prominent professors.
Oh, of course.
In my time here, Sebastian Raynon was probably the one who influenced me the most. Sebastian was a teacher here for many years. He was a major force in developing the Villanova MBA program.
Oh, okay. Wow.
At one point, he was my attorney. His father and him had a law firm in Philadelphia. His father, Michael, was represented the Archdiocese of Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sebastian has a saying that resonates with me today. Business is a matter of relationships.
Yes.
And I think you allude to that a little bit on your famous podcast,
Absolutely.
Self-Fulfilling. So it's kind of funny that Villanova has that cornered. Also, Christoph Porzingis, who was a philosophy professor for me. I had him for 3 philosophy courses. Mike, when I went to Villanova, you had to take 3 religion and 3 philosophy. It's not like that now. I think it's 1 and 1.
Yeah, I had to take. I think I had the same when I was here in the 90s. Yep.
Yep. And then somebody that really stretched my limits of academia was Dr. Ann Brewster, who was tragically killed in Philadelphia. A couple years ago, somebody broke into her house and robbed her. And she was my astronomy professor. And the funny thing, I've always been enamored with astronomy. Mm-hmm. And I thought, Oh man, I love astronomy. I'm good at it. I could get an A in this class. I took the first test and I got a D minus.
Whoa.
And I wasn't used to getting D's at Villanova.
Right.
And I panicked and I would meet with her before class. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud to say I ended up with a final grade of an A minus. And when you're only
That's
taking
a good turnaround.
exams, it was so she really influenced me a lot. So that was really that's really where I developed. And I came into Villanova a little bit unfocused.
Yeah.
So having this, the way I actually got here, quite frankly, interesting enough, if I may say.
Yeah.
My mom, when I came home from work, my mom would always put my mail on my bed.
Okay.
And I came home one day, and I found a Villanova marketing piece, and I came in non-matriculated. When I left Philadelphia Textile, Mike, I had a 1.6 GPA.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
All right.
So I had to take 5 courses at Villanova, non-matriculated. I got A's in all 5.
Wow.
And then I matriculated in. I ended up graduating with a 3.25.
Amazing. That's awesome.
So I really had a lot of,
actually, I wouldn't mind sort of pausing there.
Yeah.
And I want to call attention to a couple. I mean, you said some very key things there. And first, I'll start with, the professors.
Yes.
We find that teachers and certainly at the collegiate level, professors can have an absolutely profound impact on our lives. And I think in terms of advice for students, I know I have a 15-year-old son. He's in high school, looking at colleges soon. And I always tell him, have a relationship with your professors, your teachers, because when they know you personally, and especially if they know the effort you're putting in, you're not just a number to them. You're not just a test score. You're a real person. And then kind of to tie that back to full circle to that advice you got about businesses, relationships, as you mentioned, in my book, The Self-Fulfilling Formula and the TEDx Villanova talk I gave, that's one of the 3 key components is relationships. So not just with your professors, but then you carry that forward, right, into your life, into business. I mean, relationships are probably the single most powerful tool you have in shaping your career and your life. Don't you think?
Well said, Mike. I definitely believe that. I made a point of meeting and knowing my professors, not just I was a number.
Right.
And I wanted to let them know that I was involved in a family business and that, coming to Villanova to night school and stuff was not an easy task.
Right.
And they appreciated that.
Yeah.
They appreciated that, Mike. And,
well, right, because we're all human, right? And so, if you relay your story, you connect on a personal level, whether it be in school or in business, and people really, they know where you're coming from. And actually, you were vulnerable there, right? You said, hey, I'm working in a family business. They understood that vulnerability, and then you built trust.
Yep.
You're building trust with professors. And again, this translates to business too. It's the more we can share when we're vulnerable, we build that trust and it pays dividends.
Vulnerability in life, Mike, I think is really important
100%.
for success. It really is. And, so I just wanted to, I couldn't do this podcast without talking about, if I may quickly, the ethos or the 3 Latin words that make up Villanova.
Sure.
Veritas, truth, unitas, unity, and caritas, love. They're the tenets of what drives this great Augustinian institution.
Absolutely.
And that really is what's inscribed in all of Villanova. It's probably in Father Peter's office.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
So that's really, the Villanova community has, so real quick, I talk about It Takes a Village.
Yeah.
So the book by Hillary Clinton, and really, there were a lot of people at Villanova that had a vested interest in my development. And along the way, they were there when I had challenges.
Yeah, right.
So this university will always hold the deepest part of my heart.
Oh, yeah. And, same for me. I'll share 2 super quick stories. Yep. One is how I came to decide to come to Villanova. I went to the University of Penn the same day, visited that first. It's a very urban campus. I didn't like it coming from a small town in Pennsylvania. Driving with just me and my mom up Route 30, they told us to look for the spires of the church here on campus, and we thought we were lost. They peeked up through the trees, and I'm like, Mom, there it is. And as soon as we got here, we walked out of the car, walking up to campus, and I said, I'm home. Because I knew this is where I belonged. I just felt that. You feel the family, and Villanova really is like a family. And I know as I, now I'm starting, with my podcast and my new company, Villanova's played a key role for me in getting the opportunity to have the TEDx talk here on campus and to do this podcast here today. So, it's like returning. We start our careers here, and now we're finding this return to Villanova, and it's there for us when we need it.
Yep. Well, along with that family theme, if I may introduce to this conversation a gentleman who has probably has impacted Villanova and really put Villanova on the map, and that's one Jay Wright.
Yes, absolutely.
Who, when I think of Jay Wright, I get emotional because Jay Wright is not only a Hall of Fame coach,
right,
but he's a Hall of Fame individual.
Yes.
And you hit the nail right on the head when you talk about to Jay, and the reason he has success with players coming here is the family atmosphere. Jay creates a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
And we've been blessed, my family have been blessed to have an association with Jay Wright and his family, Patty and his 3 children, and the university. And we certainly have contributed to the program of Villanova in many different ways. And we're just extremely proud to have had Jay Wright as our coach.
I mean, his impact on the university is just almost immeasurable.
I don't know if I'm sure if I thought long and hard enough, I mean, maybe Joe Paterno at Penn State or John Wooden at UCLA or Newt Rockne at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But Jay Wright has certainly put Villanova on the map forever.
Yes. And those coaches you just mentioned are incredibly well-regarded historical figures.
Yep.
And to have a coach who can be mentioned in the same breath as those coaches, it's really a blessing. It's been a blessing to the school.
Yeah, and you and I were talking earlier how amazing it is, a small Catholic private school tucked in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Has achieved
and has 3 national championships. It's surreal when you think about the Kansas and the Michigans and the Dukes and the North Carolinas of the world. It's surreal. Yeah,
Villanova has definitely, use a boxing phrase, fought above its weight class.
Yeah.
Not only in sports and in what they've accomplished with basketball, but academically as well, to be ranked so high. For, like you said, a small school in the suburbs of Philadelphia to have the quality of education. And I think it comes back a lot to what you're talking about. It's a family. And when you're family, you care about each other. And I think even what you're saying about Jay Wright, too, is very important. When you think about people who have achieved the next level of whether it be success or just achieved great things, it's because they have a quality to their character, and who they are as people is very significant. And I think that's incredibly important, whether it's in business or academics, or if it's even, in sports, you have to have that character. And I talk about this in my book, and it like you mentioned, John Wooden, right? His famous quote, character is what you do when nobody's looking. And so, just to kind of bring that concept, because I know you were at my TEDx talk, this idea of living a self-fulfilling prophecy. What is a self-fulfilling prophecy? But it's that core belief. And that belief, whether it's I want to be a successful entrepreneur, a great basketball coach, or a great father, or a great husband or wife, or, whatever it is, whatever you want to be, you make that prophecy the center of your belief system. It's the core of your being down to your bones. And when you embody that belief at your character level, then everything else will happen for you.
Mike, your self-fulfilling prophecy, a lot of the tenets you talk about in there is what Jay Wright talks about on everything, to his team, to the community. I've been to multiple basketball banquets.
Yeah.
And Jay Wright is very fond of saying this. At the end of the day, I don't want to be judged by how many rings I have. I want to be judged by the people that I put out into the world, the members of society, that I turn these boys, that when they come here, they're boys. When they leave here, they're men.
Right.
And that really is all you have to say about Jay Wright.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Absolutely. And, it's a concept that we talk about in my business too, this idea of dropping a pebble on a pond.
Yep.
You think about what influential people like that do, like Jay, and, even the professors we mentioned. They are influencing so many lives through what they're doing that those ripples go out so far. They go out to not only the individual and their lives, and like you and I have experienced how we came through Villanova and where it's taken our careers, but our families, everyone we interact with, and having that strong value system, I would say, the commitment to not just excellence, but doing it in a way that is caring. Again, with a Catholic school, everything that comes along with Villanova, that's what makes, I think, all the difference when you talk about those ripples as they go out.
Mike, in your eloquent way, you talked about in your self-fulfilling prophecy about success in money and achievement. And that really is not the most important thing in the world.
Right.
In your words, it's about happiness and contentment. And that starts with your individual relationships at your family level.
Yes.
With your significant other, if you have one, with your family and friends. Right. And then I think you had another term for the second level. And it's all about that. And that really is the true definition of happiness.
Right.
And as I listen to your your TED Talk this morning, I several times out in the patio of my house, it just resonated with me. And it's almost sometimes you get so caught up in the world that you need someone like you, Mike Martin, to create a paradigm shift in someone's thinking.
Well, thank you.
And that's really the power of what you are. You have a lot of success and accolades, and your notoriety is gaining every day. But at the end of the day, your tenets and what you stand for, and you can tell you believe it. In the DNA.
Yeah.
The fiber of your DNA. And that's really.
Well, that's very kind, Gary. I really appreciate that. And I can't tell you. I
mean that from the bottom of my heart. I mean that.
Oh, I can feel it. And that I can't tell you how good that makes me feel to know that what I'm putting out there is a ripple. It's having an effect. And I really appreciate you sharing that.
I got another name for you now, change agent.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. I might have to get some new cards printed up with that on there. But, just to kind of bring this full circle, and this can propel our conversation from here. But again, and you said the belief that I have in what I'm talking about, it's because I lived it. I had that experience of living a self-fulfilling prophecy as a child. And then I had times where I was focused on my career, focused on making money, and realized that my relationships suffered. And that's not what I needed to do. I needed to rethink it, make new prophecies, focus on relationships because they're so important. So the self-fulfilling formula, for those who may not know, is 3 components to thrive in this world, really about thriving. It's mental fitness, it's relationship fitness, and it's execution fitness. And you really do need all components. And I tried to make it as simple as possible, no simpler though. Right. And so that's my belief, is everything in life that you want to try to achieve and thrive comes down to those 3 things. So maybe talk to me a little bit about how mental fitness plays a role in your career.
Mike, great question. You in your podcast, you introduced the term PQ.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I became a fan of Martin Seligman, who was a professor at Penn. He's the one who invented the formula IQ over EQ.
Right.
As I got older in life, guess what? I realized that EQ is more important than IQ.
Yeah.
And you call it PQ. And that, to me, is really where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
So when I talk about it takes a village to deal with the stressors of today and to stay grounded and to be happy, you really have to involve many disciplines.
Yeah.
For me, it starts out with my relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yep.
I read a book every day that my brother Timmy gave me. It's called Jesus Calling. 365 pages, one for each day.
Oh, yeah.
And I read that in the morning, Mike, and it's almost like Jesus is in the room with me. It's almost like when I'm reading it off the page, he's actually reading the words to me. And there's such a feeling of contentment and groundedness. And most importantly, to realize that he's the Alpha and the Omega, the King of Kings.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I do that. Meditation is really important to me.
And I think I just want to call out there, I think there's a ton of power in doing that daily. You know, you're starting your day every day in that space. And the power of the other thing when we talk about execution fitness is consistency
Consistency is it really
huge.
It really is. You just can't, you know, my dear friend, Pat Mascara always had a saying he would tell his children, he said, make sure you pray to God every day so he recognizes your voice when you really need him.
Oh, nice.
Just don't,
I like that.
Just don't say that. Just don't call on him when you're in trouble.
Right.
Seek his wisdom every day.
Yeah.
So along with that, I have a psychologist that I go to.
Yep.
A friend, Robert Klein, who is incredibly gifted, and he's really been a real important force in my life. So there's been a number of things.
Yeah, because it starts internally, doesn't it? Like before we can have our successful relationships, we have to make sure we're in a good place.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of PQ and positive intelligence is about. Like, you know, it's what channel am I on? Am I on a channel that's going to push people away or a channel that's going to bring people in, right?
Yep. So I think of that too. And so, that's really.
That's excellent. And we'll have to talk more. I'd love to talk to you about PQ a little bit more because I think you'd really resonate with you. And so then that brings us to the next component, which is the relationship fitness, you know, and we talked a lot about this already, you know, how Villanova was a real springboard for that for both of us. But how does that play a role in your career and what you're doing nowadays?
Well, so, you know, you talk about, there's a phrase in the Bible, he who's given more is expected more. So Villanova has blessed me. I've gotten clients here. I formed a lot of friendships here. And so giving back, right? I'm always cognizant of giving back to my community, to my university. And to that extent, I was blessed a couple of years ago to be asked to participate in the Villanova career. They had a career counseling session, or like it was a new program. Okay. So there were two ladies. I'm embarrassed to say I forgot their names, but they asked me along with another. So there were a series of disciplines. Right. So it was set up to help the seniors decide what sector to go into. Right. Like obviously the finance, accounting, business. So that's the sector that we had. Gotcha. And we would meet once a month on a Zoom call or webinar, and we would share our experiences with them. And so it was a mentorship? Exactly. Well said, Mike. Gotcha. It was like a mentorship program. Right. And of course they had one for English and one for bio, and if you wanted to go into pre-med. And you know, just to segue real quick, you talk about Villanova's excellence, right? Yeah. Villanova, half of Wall Street's Villanova, right? Right. Yeah. Half of Wall Street's Villanova, right? You got pre-med, you have the nursing program, engineering. Yeah. I mean, there's... And I'll tell you what, you know, when I meet
folks, sometimes I'm like, wow, I really connect with this person, only to find out later that they're a Villanova graduate.
And then, of course, I've been invited to different events at the Inn of Villanova.
Yep.
Right, where people get together at night, alumni, which has been a really cool event.
It's a real community that's, it doesn't end. It doesn't span the 4 years you're here. It really starts when you come, and it's the rest of your life. And I know for me, now with my own company and everything I'm doing, I'm leaning heavily on the Villanova community, and it's there. It's there. It's supporting me. It's helping me, help me with the TEDx talk that I've got, and, things like this, and meeting you and Isabella and everybody. It's just, it's tremendous. Relationship fitness is so important. Your network is going to influence everything that you do. It's
really important. A lot of my friends call me Mr. Villanova.
Yeah.
And so, Villanova is through and through, but like when I met you and Isabella at your TED Talk, Mike, I was like overwhelmed. And then Richard, who we both know, who's Richard DeLuise, one of our consultants for our company, he was talking about you. And then I did some deep diving and looking at it. I said, Jesus Christ, I just met Mike Martin. Like, geez, I didn't realize.
So the magnitude of that, I don't know about that.
Now, and everything is really unbelievable. But Villanova travels well.
Oh, yeah.
If you actually, I don't know if you're aware of it, but so obviously when it comes to the states to where Villanova students came from, it's Philadelphia, it's Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. But the sixth state or the fifth state is California.
Yeah.
Now think about that.
Right.
California, right?
Couldn't be further away and still,
And yet there's a huge percentage of California students that come here, high school students. Yeah. So that just is another indicator of the power of Villanova.
Yeah, there's a lot of pull, and it's deserved. So now let's talk a little bit, and we kind of already touched on this a little bit, and that shows you how intertwined these three concepts are of mental, relationship, and execution fitness. But in terms of execution fitness, when it comes to accomplishing your goals and everything, talk to me about what role that plays for you. Consistency we talked about.
Yeah. So you talked about character, right? Yep. Being really at the epicenter, right? I think that the way in business, because that's what most of us are involved in some kind of business. Whenever there's an exchange of money, it's a business transaction. You really have, and this goes to your PQ and EQ. Because, when things are going well, it's easy. But when you what's Mike Tyson's famous saying? What does he say? He says something about getting punched in the face. He goes, you don't know you're in a fight until you get punched in the face.
Yeah, right.
And then see how you react.
Right.
So you don't know the fiber of an individual or the strength of the backbone until you get knocked down. And in the business world, Mike, as you could well attest to, and Isabella, you get knocked down every day. And
to some extent.
You have your successes, of course, right? But you get knocked down, and it's the people who get up. This great country of ours, there's many examples of people that got knocked down. Yeah. But when they kept getting up.
Exactly.
And that simple act of getting up. I mean, Ronald Reagan he failed miserably in politics, and he became the president.
Absolutely.
There's so many.
You look at any successful person, you just see the success because that's what's publicized. But it's the failures and it's the learning. And I mean, I try to avoid cliches as much as I can, but it's not about getting knocked down. Because that's going to happen. Yeah. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have failures. It's how do you deal with it, and do you get back up and get back into it? And much of business success is about resiliency. And again, bringing it back to the three things. Well, how do you get back up? You have good relationships. You have a support network that's going to help you to get back up. How do you be resilient within yourself? your strong mental fitness. You have that high resiliency. You believe in what, again, coming back to my self-fulfilling formula, right? When you have that belief at your core and it's down to your bones and your character, doesn't matter what happens in the world because you're going to bend reality to match that belief.
Yep. And Mike, if I could just go back a minute, I was thinking about this earlier. In the mid-20s, I was in a very severe car accident.
Oh, yes.
And I had a brain injury, and that I still deal with to this day.
Yeah.
And I could have either went either way at that point. I could have went either north or south, and that's really where I kind of had an epiphany with my faith and Jesus Christ, and he kept tugging on me because I didn't always live the life of a Trappist monk. Let's put it that way.
Who does, except them?
Right. So, as I came out of that accident and I ended up matriculating into Villanova, it was the perfect time for me because it provided stability and faith and nurturism. They nurtured me. And you talked about it before about the impact of the professors and the spirit. It's really the spirit that hangs over Villanova that makes it a special place. Would you agree with that, Mike?
100%. I 100% agree. And that's, I think, what I felt when I first walked on campus, when I said I'm home. I mean, I knew it. I felt it.
We were talking previous when you went to Penn and you said, oh, this is too sterile and I'm the city. And you and your mother were walking up the steps of the chapel and you turned to your mother, St. Thomas, and you said, I'm home.
Yeah, 100%.
That right there.
Yeah.
Is all you need to know. The proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely.
You can't make this stuff up.
That's right. And again, you talk about when you need that support system. Again, I'm starting my own company. You're in a similar boat where you're starting a new venture. You have this support system here that is going to be helpful for you. They're never going to they're always there, right? You can always come back to Villanova and say, hey, you know what? I need a little bit of help. Can you introduce me to somebody? Can I get involved in this? And it starts with giving back. That's where it started for me. How can I help? How can I give back? And then again, to use an old phrase, it always comes back tenfold. Whatever you put out there and you give back, it's going to come back to you. Yep. So we kind of hit on the main things, but just maybe let's talk a little bit now about what's coming up for you. What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to?
Appreciate the question, Mike. It's a great question. I always think of my life, and I break it into thirds. You got your first third. I think the average lifespan of a male in America today is like 86.
Right.
For a female, it's 88. So let's call it 90, right?
Sure.
So I'm on the last 30 of my life, and I'm here to tell you that I'm more excited than ever, and I'm working harder than ever. That's awesome. I'm not slowing down anytime soon.
Well, I never accuse you of that. I know you're not slowing down.
No. My colleagues, no matter where I worked at or what business I was involved with, they would always say this to me. They would say, Greco, I get tired just watching you.
Yeah.
I was blessed.
You got a high motor, and that's awesome.
High motor came from my parents.
Yeah.
My parents, my dad and mom, God bless them. They're the salt of the earth. And they instilled in me, my brother Joey and my brother Timmy, the virtues and morals, and most importantly, the work ethic.
Right.
And we overcame at an early age, and we continue to this day to overcome. So if I would be remiss if I didn't mention my parents. But on to my new challenge here with Cynthia Phillips, my esteemed partner. Sientia is as I mentioned before, it's AI at the end, artificial intelligence, but it's more about business transformation.
Right.
It's more about educating people with artificial intelligence. Earlier, Mike, you and I were talking about how the dangers of AI with encryption and things like that. Yeah. So we really feel as though we're on the precipice of something really great.
Yeah.
And we're in the early stages of AI.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, what we're involved with goes way beyond ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah.
ChatGPT's kindergarten.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And we talked about the revolutions, the industrial, the internet. Those two are like peanut butter and jelly. Artificial intelligence is like surf and turf.
Yeah.
By the year 2030, artificial intelligence is projected to be a $15 trillion industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we're at the beginning.
excited.
I mean, it seems like, oh my gosh, we're so far along and we have all these tools, but it's just the beginning. And I've been in technology for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything accelerate and adopt as fast as AI. And I want to say, though, the way you described it, where, AI is at the end and it's really about transformation, leading, that's 100% the right way to approach it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I know AI is going to be crazy transformative, but it still is a tool, at least as far as we could project until it takes over. But, it's a tool, right? So it's about, what are we solving? Don't start with the tool,
Mike, so eloquent words. It really is. Machine learning we talked about earlier. It's really about those nuts and bolts. Look, everybody, it's like the .com back in the early 2000s, right? Do I need to go there again? No.
Right.
AI is not a panacea. It is not a panacea. It's not for everyone. And we're not going to sell it for that.
Right.
And that's what's going to distinguish us from other companies. We're not going to be in it for a money grab. We're going to do what's best for the client, for the customer.
Yeah, I love that.
Serve their needs.
Right.
The money, our day will come. But that's what we're involved with. We're more interested on, okay, you have this great thing at the end, but then let's plug in my esteemed partner's concept of impact.
Yeah.
Let's look at the impact, which is an acronym for various different words.
Right.
That's where we start at.
Yeah.
So,
right, because ultimately, whether it's for our business or our clients, you are looking for value. It's all about value, which comes.
It's a return on investment. Right. We're going to say how can this process, be it AI or the impact playbook, how can this? Mike, it's important. You give us $1 and we're going to give you $10 back, and we're not just saying that.
Right.
We will have measurable results.
Right.
Measurables. Yeah. What we tell you, what we say, we will do, and we can prove.
And that's an equation everybody could get behind. I'll give you $1, give me 10.
Want to have that scenario?
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
And it's interesting because I can see your passion coming through here. So I know you're jazzed about what you're doing.
And Mike, it's all sectors across industry. Medical, we're going to be involved in that. We're going to be involved. We're going to be working with my brother. Hopefully, my brother Timothy Greco, one of the top facial plastic surgeons in the country in Ballackinwood.
Yeah.
Matacta School District, which is my alma mater.
Okay.
Right. We're hoping to make inroads at Villanova down the road.
Yeah.
J.P. Mascaro and Sons, one of the largest solid waste disposal companies in the country. So the county of Montgomery.
Yeah. You're going to focus on a business process? You're going to streamline? Is that?
Yes. Business process and
how to leverage AI to.
But the important thing is with AI and or business transformation, if it's not right from the beginning and you add our talents to it, it just exacerbates the problem. Right. So you have to be buttoned up on the business side.
Yeah, because it's like pouring gasoline on the fire, right?
Yes.
If you have a broken process or even a process that's got some issues in it, you throw AI in there, it's just going to exacerbate. You're going to just increase the issues, right?
Exactly.
So, and that's why I love the approach you're taking. It's about getting the process right, having a good foundation, and then you accelerate. You don't automate something that's broken. You fix it first, and then you add automation, and you go from there.
True words were never spoken, Mike. And there's different levels of AI. We're not going to start at the penthouse. We're going to start in the basement and work up. And it's a comfort level. And everybody has to buy in because remember, there's a lot of different concepts or different ideas about AI and stuff going around, innuendos, misconceptions, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And, to that extent, my partner, Cindy, has created white papers, which everybody knows what a white paper is. So that when we go into the conversation, we're not spending an hour fighting off bullets and arrows.
Yeah.
We've already gone that way.
Yeah, everybody's starting on the same page,
Exactly.
right, when you engage with your clients. That's fantastic. So I'd like to maybe start to wrap us up here. You shared so many great things. This has just been an absolutely wonderful conversation.
My pleasure.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Gary, for being with me today.
Opportunity in our company.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we wrap up, any final thoughts, maybe any piece of advice you'd like to share? Something about Villanova?
I think that my dear friend Pat Mascaro, who's one of the most gifted businessmen I've ever met or ever will meet, he always says about business, he said, business is really simple. People complicate it.
Yeah.
But business is simple. And I think people that complicate life get into problems. Life is simple.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ talks about it in the Bible, simplicity, right?
Yeah.
What is he was born in a manger. He wasn't born at the Ritz-Carlton. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
he died on a cross.
Yeah.
What's so glamorous about that?
Right.
I think really the simplicities of life, to your great point about your relationships being more important than your business.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, if your personal life is not in order, your business life will not be in order. It might get ahead in the beginning, but it will be no sustainability.
Yeah, it won't be. You can't sustain that. It'll eventually catch up with you. Yeah, 100%.
And just simple stuff like treat people the way that you would want to be treated.
Yeah.
And then I would end with this. Ignite change, go Nova.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Isabella, for being here with us. And most of all, thank you for tuning in and listening to what we're talking about. As always, I appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next episode.